Could DC be merged with Marvel? Well, apparently it almost happened. Yes, it appears that Bob Iger, whose main talent for Disney was to buy a bunch of stuff. He bought Marvel, and of course most famously bought Star Wars. Marvel so far has worked out for the better. Star Wars, not so much. But anyway, that's what he did. He spent a lot of Disney's money. And he was hungry for more. Remember, he also bought Fox, which, of course, gives them the rights to, X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that stuff. But apparently, he was also after Warner Brothers. So he made a phone call and said that things could have gone a lot different. It could have been different if a phone call had come just a few weeks earlier. In October 2016, shortly before Time Warner and AT&T announced their deal, Bob Iger, the head of Disney at the time, placed a call to Jeff Bewkes, the chief of Time Warner, according to two people intimately familiar with those details. The Disney leader asked Bewkes if he'd be interested in a possible merger. It was too late, Bewkes said. There was already something in the works. Iger wished him well and hung up the phone. Later, Iger called another media chief in the hopes of forging a deal. It was Rupert Murdoch. Well, then, of course, the rest, as you know, is history. So this could have happened some time ago, and boy, where would we be now? Well, Feige would have his hooks all over DC characters. Hey, maybe there'd even be an adaptation of Justice League versus Avengers that, George Perez and Kurt Busiek did way back when. That's actually a fun story. It's really cool. But at this point, would the movies be any good? I mean, Feige is just preaching the woke Kool-Aid sermons all over the place. He's already ruined his Disney Plus shows. He ruined WandaVision, we now know, because he didn't want it was all set up for Doctor Strange to be in it, and at the last minute, no, get that out of there, because I just now noticed he's white and male. Oh boy, and Falcon and Winter Soldier, oh boy. Ooh. When you make your superhero sympathetic for a mass murderer, I don't think you understand what heroism is. So, could this still happen? Yes, it could. Of course, the latest was Warner Media and Discovery merging. So the new company will probably be called Warner Discovery. And CNBC weighed in on this and said that the deal could be that, it's going to beef up the two properties for the streaming service. And so HBO Max becomes the big focus. And when it's got more muscle to it, it'll make it more pretty for sale. And so that's the deal. You sell it well to who? So they're looking at tech companies, possibly Amazon or Apple. I'm thinking possibly maybe Amazon is no longer in the deal because they're currently pursuing MGM. And unless the government cracks down, they probably will acquire it. Just for the purpose that MGM has, the distribution rights to James Bond, but they don't actually own the property of James Bond. That's a lot of money just for that. And even now, it seemed like Disney's paid way too much for Fox. But they've got a vision, I guess, and pursue it anyway. So, but still, Amazon could go for both, because it looks like, when Disney was doing all this, they were, okay, well, I can't get Warner Brothers. Let's see, who's on next on the list? Okay, fine. And if they could have done both, would they have? I don't know. So, of course, Amazon's got the money. So if they want to do both, but if they're already going to, there's talk of the government might be upset about this. If they're going to run into that kind of trouble, they can't then, hey, let's snatch up this other company. But perhaps if this one fails, they can go for the other. The other one that really needs to do it, I would think, would be Apple, because Apple TV just doesn't have, recognizable franchises. And so, of course, Warner Brothers does. It has several, and most notably, of course, my attention here is the DC properties, but there's plenty of others. So that would be a no-brainer for them to go at it. And again, the money's there, so they can make an offer. But Disney might still be a player here. Now, Disney is in a lot of trouble and taking a lot of hits these days because they're trash. All that creepy, weird cult-like the PC crap that they were demanding their employees go through, and their weird neo-segregationist views and everything is just really bizarre. And then, of course, they're in bed with China. And to be lecturing people on the moral standards of race and sex and whatnot, and then be in bed with something like China with what it's doing, thanking them for letting them film near a concentration camp. Yeah, you know, and then because we don't worry, we'll take the black guys off the Star Wars posters. Shut up, Disney. And so it's a lot of damage to them, and I gotta wonder, because the idea of bending the knee to China is not something that's exclusive to Disney. You know, way back when the Sony emails released, you could see it all, where they were changing plots and locations and movies and all this stuff just to appease China. And so they're all guilty of it. But, and it's been talked about quite a bit, and yet all of a sudden now there's just this dump load of it all on Disney. Have to wonder if that's not somewhat manipulated for this very purpose, to try to knock them out of the game so they can't snatch up Warner Media, you know? Could be, don't know. Anyway, I'm reading a summarized version of all this from Cosmic Book News, and Cosmic Book News had put an earlier article on this possibility, and then a bunch of people jumped all over, Matt McCloy, who is Cosmic Book News, saying that he had stated it was a done deal or whatever. He suggested it was a possibility, and he's not wrong. Of course it's a possibility. You can even go back to the 80s when Jim Shooter said there was talks of that sort of thing, that Marvel might buy DC Comics at the time. He says there were some talks of that. It didn't go through, of course, but these sort of things are possible and can happen. And now, there's much higher stakes for these companies, and they're maneuvering their deck chairs. And the streaming wars continue. And to see who can come out on top and what properties they need to exploit and all that sort of thing. The bigger damage, of course, in my opinion, is, of course, all the leftist turn and preaching and lecturing that nobody wants. Even China doesn't want it. Of course, they get upset at anything they think makes China look bad, but at the same time, the populace, and not the government, which is the big blocking force that they have to contend with. But even when their movies get in there, the more virtue signaling and leftist thought and all that sort of stuff that's in there, and their race bending and whatnot, and pandering and superficial crap, they reject it. So there is no market for it, yet they keep pursuing it. So a lot of these companies would have been in better shape if they could just drop that. Don't just piss in the face of your customer and say, well, you're evil if you don't like my piss. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. And it didn't. So yeah, this is possible, but to be fair to Cosmic News, he never said that it's a done deal. But it stands to reason that, Disney's a player in that. But there's a lot more hurdles for them now. And I'm thinking Apple might actually have a shot at this. Amazon it could have, but I think they're probably going to have a little trouble with trying to. They're busy with MGM right now, and if the government comes down on them, then they can't do it. But they'll probably get it. But that keeps them a little busy, and Disney's in trouble. So maybe it's Apple TV playing games behind the scenes. I don't know, but Apple could swoop in and take Warner Discovery, or whatever it'll be called when they beef it up. And there again, it depends on how many. I mean, will they get majority shares or the whole thing? I don't know. Right now, AT&T still has majority shares in that company, but for the purposes of the merger, it's basically Discovery will be in the driver's seat going forward until the next sale, which should be shortly. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.